Dawn arrives. Stars are swept away, and night cycles into morning as it has since the very beginning. In the magic hour's fleeting blue glow, the torch is passed and the day shift begins. Flurries of activity set a lively tone. This transition between nocturnal and diurnal creatures is unique. It's a time full of beauty and surprises in the animal kingdom. The living world awakens and welcomes the glory of a new day. Tropical forests are the Earth's principal reservoirs of biodiversity, home to 70% of the world's recorded botanical species and 10% of known animal species. Many of its treasures have yet to be discovered. Amazonia contains half the world's remaining rainforests and spans over 9 countries. About 60% of the rainforest lies within Brazil. Flooded valleys and plentiful vegetation mark this lush biome where enormous rivers and countless islands are inhabited by distinct varieties of flora and fauna. Dawn arrives, illuminating a primordial world teeming with life. As the sounds of the night fade away, there's a growing explosion of birdsong as the jungle begins to reveal itself. Amid the nocturnal cacophony, this tree buzzes with activity. Atta ants work long before dawn to avoid diurnal predators. They cut and carry leaves from the forest canopy, but these are not to be eaten. This material will be used to cultivate the fungi, which is their exclusive food source. harvesters are heading toward their underground garden. Inside, workers process the leaf segments into fragments that will be incorporated into the fungus, which is constantly tended by the smallest colony members. Within 2 nights, leafcutter ants can strip a giant tree entirely. A multitude of ants rule Amazonia. A single tree can host more than 40 different species, and more than 10 million individuals can inhabit a single hectare. In addition to leafcutter ants, colonies of slave-maker ants and army ants are found in the jungle, each comprising a distinct species. Around a stump, killer ants have besieged a termite column. These merciless carnivores are some of the largest ants in the world. The night is coming to an end. Tree frogs are still singing to broadcast their locations in hope of attracting mates. Their calls are better heard at night when they don't have to compete with the raucous sounds of the diurnal creatures, soon to awaken. The first streaks of dawn illuminate the mists rising from the forest. Howler monkeys are rising, and they make themselves heard. Kilometers away, others answer their calls, followed by more responses from even further distances. This shrill symphony is purposeful. It helps to locate familiars, but also serves to prevent unnecessary physical confrontations and territory disputes. It's an excellent diplomatic strategy, and every morning, this is how the jungle greets the day. Progressively, other sounds emerge. Diurnal birds and insects take the reins. Curassows croak out their low, booming songs. Dawn's orchestra springs to life. Abruptly, cicadas join in, filling the air with a penetrating crescendo that can rise to levels exceeding 120 decibels. These insects are singular in their capacity to produce such a uniquely shrill sound, and it can be rather daunting to predators and humans alike. After spending several years underground, mature cicada nymphs burrow up from their chambers. They exit by way of escape hatch chimneys and begin their brief adulthood. Inside a closed chimney, a nymph prepares to make this journey. It digs steadily, all the while urinating to soften the earth. After it emerges and spends a few days in the air, the nymph will enter its final molt. Leaving behind a hollow shell, it transforms into a winged adult and joins the morning ensemble. The rising sun casts light upon lakes and rivers. Underwater, the zooplankton is drawn to the surface, where they graze upon a floating layer of phytoplankton. This attracts an array of crustaceans and fish, which in turn attracts black skimmers. These birds feed by flying along and skimming at the surface of the water. The skimmer senses its prey, snapping its jaw shut at the slightest touch. Pre-dawn is an ideal time to hunt since rivals are rare. Over time, the black skimmer's eyes evolved, and their retinas became perfectly adapted to these conditions, thus equipping them with optimum vision in dim lighting, an advantage that other fishing birds do not possess. Aru turtles gather in semi-darkness. Each year, just before the rainy season, they leave their aquatic habitat, destined to lay their own eggs on the same riverbank where they hatched. Vultures patrol, waiting for an opportunity. Female turtles emerge from the water and amass upon the beach, where they labor to dig holes and bury their eggs. It's hard work. Well buried in the sand, the eggs will incubate at a steady temperature, out of harm's way, mostly. But carelessly exposed eggs make for a vulture feast. For caimans, morning is prime time for fishing. This is a singular community event for otherwise solitary reptiles. Gathering, they dive and hunt in droves. This technique seems to have been inspired by their neighbors, the pink river dolphins. Endemic to Amazonia, these freshwater cetaceans have been known to occasionally utilize a curious hunting method. They team up and drive schools of fish into confusion. This disorients the bewildered shoals, making them far easier to catch. River dolphins are swift swimmers, able to move their neck in a manner unlike any other dolphin species, thanks to an unfused vertebral structure. This mobility allows for 90-degree head rotation and lends to the river dolphin's keen ability to thread effortlessly through the tangled branches and roots of the submerged forest. In traditional Amazon folklore, the river dolphin leaves the water at night, shape-shifting into a handsome man who seduces village women. At the break of dawn, he returns to the river, resuming dolphin form and swimming away. In this murky underwater maze, river dolphins use echolocation to orient themselves and to keep track of one another. In turn, caimans possess sensory organs which detect ripples in the water, electrical fields, and other subtleties that guide them toward their prey. Neither darkness nor muddy rivers pose obstacles, but the diffuse morning light sets the stage for their preferred hunting conditions. The sun has not yet broken through, but a Caboclo man is already in his boat. It's the best time for fishing. Descended from the unions of the first Portuguese settlers and indigenous Brazilians more than 3 centuries ago, the Caboclos form an important population within the Amazonian basin. Like their indigenous predecessors, they're familiar with the forest and continue to live traditionally. Fishing is still done using a net rather than hooks. This way, fish may be returned to the water unharmed. A warbling dawn chorus rings throughout the jungle. Trills and whistles of birdsong blend and overlap as the many species communicate. Males choose perches that offer beneficial acoustic properties and display themselves prominently amid the vegetation. These early hours are prime for mating, as this is when females are most fertile, and the cool air allows their calls and songs to carry over further distances. Dawn is coming to its end. The sun rises past the tops of trees, illuminating the mist. The rainforest colors bloom as daylight returns. Monk parakeets work as a colony to build their communal stick nests. The yellow-rumped cacique prefers a more private nest. As the morning progresses, howler monkeys ascend into the treetops. Now that they've completed their screeching rites of dawn, the monkeys are tranquil. And it's time for their next ritual. A morning constitutional of epic proportions. Urine and feces rain down from the treetops as the monkeys simultaneously relieve themselves. This dispensing of feces is a primary link in the Amazonian food chain. Dung beetles await the end of this morning storm. For these scaraboids, this excrement is an essential part of their existence. They gather it into balls. Using their powerful hind legs, they roll the balls to their nest. Given their physical size versus the proportions of their loads, dung beetles are the strongest insects in the world. They'll consume only the surface layer, and what remains will serve as an incubation chamber for the beetles' eggs. Dung beetle larvae feed on undigested plant fibers, while remaining seeds are left to sprout in this natural fertilizer, thus contributing to the forest's regeneration. Time grows short for dung collection. They must work quickly because the growing light reveals them, drawing the attention of predators. With 1 in 10 known animal species residing here among tens of thousands of plants, this species-rich biome comprises unparalleled biodiversity. The Amazon is home to some 1,300 bird species and 2.5 million insect species. But most stay hidden. In the rainforest, the presence of life is more often heard than seen. To survive in this competitive environment, discretion can be key. Near flawless camouflaging mechanisms mimic the form, color, and textures of the surroundings. These minute details make it possible to hide from predators seamlessly in plain sight. At dawn, when a battalion of army ants sets out, there is no escaping their path. With startling efficiency, they cut a hungry swath through the rainforest, overtaking all that they encounter. These highly intelligent insects are even able to form bridges with their bodies in order to bypass obstacles. Army ants are equipped with powerful hooked mandibles, which they use to keep an ironclad grip on their prey. There is no escape from the army ant's deadly clinch. This daily pillage is mutually beneficial, as it serves to flush out all manner of insects, large and small. If the ants don't get to them, other opportunists waiting to join the feast seize them as they flee. Unlike other tree species that depend on wind to move their pollen, Amazonian trees rely upon vertebrates such as monkeys for pollination and the dissemination of seeds. Every species plays a role in maintaining this grand equilibrium. Like these agile tamarins, who hasten the fall of fruits as they eat them. This agouti also contributes to the dispersal of seeds by burying reserves of its collections. Since these rodents don't have the best memory, many forgotten caches are left behind to sprout. Because of the agouti's contribution to forest propagation, the locals have nicknamed him the tree planter. The howler monkeys have moved on to their final morning ritual, breakfast. A prehensile tail allows for easy navigation of the jungle's emergent layer. This fifth appendage is a valuable asset. howler monkeys are vegetarian. Their staple diet of flowers, fruits, and leaves is low in calories and necessitates long hours of foraging. These Guianan cocks of the rocks are ready for courtship. They take advantage of the day's first light to show off their dazzling plumage. Females of the species have modest plumage and are far less conspicuous. Even with a short wingspan and stocky build, this passerine gracefully makes its way through dense growth. Engaging in competitive mating rituals, they spare no effort in getting noticed. They noisily flit from branch to branch in spectacular displays of aggression and daring. Females take note of their suitors' exhibitions. Prior to breeding, female cocks of the rocks construct bowl-shaped nests of mud and plant fibers. Attached to sheer rock faces, this perch provides protection during the brooding season. Heavy rainfalls endow the Amazon with thousands of waterways. Amazonian tributaries swell and pour into the main stem of the river. This basin is the largest in the world, covering up to 40% of South America. About 1/5 of the fresh water released into the Atlantic Ocean comes from this region. The sun has climbed high above the horizon. Its rays shimmer on the surface of the water. The diurnal world is awakening. giant otters greet the day. Pups stay safe in their den with elder siblings while their parents hunt. The babysitters take care to mind their charge as well. Latecomers get a move on. Many predators are quite fond of turtle eggs and hatchlings, and as such, only a small percentage will reach adulthood. Surviving females will eventually return to lay their own eggs. The mothers will stay nearby for a few days before they depart into the waters. Despite the sun's position, light rarely enters the heart of the Amazon. Blocked by dense canopy vegetation, the forest floor is damp and dark, consisting mostly of layers of decaying organic material. Little lives here. Even though this tropical biome is the most verdant in the world, its soil is of a surprisingly poor quality. Rainforest botanical life is sustained through adaptive measures that facilitate rapid nutrient cycling rather than feeding from the soil itself. When vegetation decomposes, minerals are almost immediately reabsorbed by surrounding trees. An abundance of greenery prevents the sandy, desert-like soil from being swept away by rainfall. In a constant pursuit of light, plants have adapted. They colonize trees and climb into the well-lit canopy. Mosses and lichens creep up tree trunks and cling to branches in an unstoppable ascent towards the sun. A single tree can shelter a great number of epiphytes such as ferns, orchids, and bromeliads. The iguana also seeks solar energy, which reactivates its sluggish metabolism. Of all the 35,000 spider species, only 15 are communal. In these rare cases, web construction and prey capture are a team effort. These silk traps seem to be woven from a halo of light. Here and there, open spaces can be found in the dense forest. Shallow pools accumulate. These stagnant waters are home to the Odonatas. Daylight inspires a frenetic mission to hunt, to compete, and to spawn. Under the water's surface, larvae also respond to the sun by entering metamorphosis and making their way out of the pond. Gradually, the nymph's body matures and molting commences. Once its wings have dried, the Odonata flies away. Squirrel monkeys have been foraging since dawn. Agile and playful, they flit from tree to tree, showing little interest in their quieter neighbors. A sloth slowly emerges from slumber. Movement is rare from this magnificently mellow creature. It might spend a lifetime in the same tree if only there were enough food. The sloth's sluggishness and coloring enables camouflage, even under the sharp eyes of predators. These qualities also make this animal an accommodating host for butterflies, beetles, and mites that live on and in its coat. The sloth's fur is actually a microfauna ecosystem, additionally inhabited by algae. This microflora provides further camouflage, contributing to the green coloring which deepens after rainfall. At this exceptional moment, the sloth is moving out of the trees and down to the forest floor to relieve himself. This weekly trip to the loo can cost the sloth up to 1/3 of its weight. For the sloth's butterfly companions, this resultant excrement is an ideal egg-laying site, as will nourish their future larvae. This slow ascending return will be followed by a long nap in the canopy shade. The sun beams down upon the rainforest. Veils of mist have dissipated, and the choirs of dawn have gone quiet until morning returns. The rising sun has revealed but a few of the Amazon's precious secrets. In the shade of tall trees and below the waters all around, magnificent biodiversity abounds. So many of its treasures have yet to be uncovered.